Okay, well, today I'm here with Meaghan, and Meaghan is joining us. You would have already seen some posts from Meaghan in a couple of the section spaces on Deeper. And today we're going to be talking to Meaghan about tarot, how she views it, and how she's going to use it within Deeper for the benefit of all of our members. So, Meaghan, my first question: how did your relationship with tarot develop, and what helps you to approach it as a deeper intuitive tool? How would you describe your unique style of tarot reading, and what makes a session with you feel different?
Well, there was no single moment that told me tarot was something deeper. It sort of became that through a journey. And did learn the traditional way when I began. I was taught to approach it in this predictive way, and I attempted that, but it never felt true. It never resonated, and it made readings incredibly difficult to determine. So from the beginning, I experienced it as something that was more reflective and intuitive, and rather than just something to memorize, it felt like something to embody, if that makes sense. I did explore the traditional meanings, but they never felt complete. The guidebook will give you 2 or 3 words, but not even the whole meaning of that word. And the meaning of the card does not come alive without your participation. So altogether, it just felt like there was something very much more underneath the surface of tarot that a lot of people were not getting. And over time, that developed into the way I work now, which blends the structure with the intuition and always centers on what's actually present rather than trying to define a destination or a distinction. My style is very intentional, almost ritualistic at times, but very relation. I build the reading based on the client's situation. So when you come to me, I'm not going to use the Celtic cross spread or a spread that you're probably familiar with. I'm going to form a spread uniquely for you based on your situation, questions that actually answer what you're looking for. So as I'm doing this, I'm looking at traditional meanings, symbolism, relational dynamics, both between you and the cards. And I'm pulling intuitive imprints and looking at what's beneath the surface and then translating that into language that can be understood and actually implemented in life. So I try to focus on making meaning very accessible.
That sounds really unique and really interesting. I've been to many tarot readings with the cards, but I think I prefer your style. How would you describe your unique style of reading tarot? What makes a session with you different from a typical reading someone might have had before?
Well, a session with me begins with connection. It's never this impersonal thing where you just simply ask a question and then I say, oh, the cards say this. When a client comes to me, I take a little time to speak with the client to actually form the correct questions, because there are questions that simply should not be asked because they come from a place that tarot can give you insight on, but won't help with.
Okay.
So, for instance, asking if your lover has feelings for you, I consider things to be ethical, and I don't read into the energy of someone not present or aware that they're being read. So I can't tell you whether they love you, but I can tell you how this relationship affects you and how your behavior is setting things up for a certain way, and how you can change to allow more opportunities into that relationship.
Oh, I like that approach.
Yeah, from there I guide you through the reading, and I try to relate all of the cards to you so that you understand more than just what the card means. You know, the Eight of Wands is speed, it's momentum, it's things happening quickly. But what does that mean for you in action?
Okay.
So I try to put it in terms that apply to your situation and make meaning of the meaning.
Okay. And I guess whilst you're doing this, that the client, the person that you're reading for will be able to ask questions along the way as well, or do you prefer the questions to be at the end?
Oh, I like questions along the way because they're important.
Okay.
There's a possibility that a question you ask can be answered by a card I've drawn. But if it isn't in the spread, I know there's a potential for a clarifying part there.
Okay.
And I never charge for clarifications. I just do them. So we may go through a spread and maybe it reveals a certain pattern that you've been living and tells you this pattern is why you can't move forward from this specific situation or can't make this new opportunity settle in yourself. So, but what do you do with this pattern? There's a question that can be answered by another part. So I'm open to questions and discussion. And it helps. I don't want anyone to leave with more questions. I wrote something recently, and I think the line was, a reading is not meant to, a reading is designed to not make you need another reading.
I like that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so bearing that in mind, can you walk us through what a client experiences in one of your tarot sessions from the moment they arrive or log on to the moment you close the reading?
Okay. It begins, as I said, with connection. I take time to speak with you, make sure we're familiar with each other, make sure you're familiar with how I work. I have an orientation and mission statement and an ethics statement in my business page that make it clear how I work. So I'll usually point you to my business page so you understand who you're working with first. And then from there, I guide you through a set of prompts, questions that will help us determine the question you're asking, the very base of it. Beyond just the surface level, but actually like everything you want to know about.
Okay.
And then if it's needed, we refine the questions a little, and then I build a custom spread based on that. And as I typically, because I have two different types, I have live readings and written readings. With the written readings, it's difficult to ask questions as we go along. So I'll do the reading, present the reading, and offer any questions, any clarifications needed, I'm open for more. But
Excellent.
during a live reading, I very much encourage people to ask their questions as we go on, so we can address them during. And then
Excellent.
I always close by doing a clearing and returning. I call it energetic reclamation rather than cord cutting, because it sounds like reclaim. But I pull both people into my heart center, their energies. I return everyone's natural energy to themselves, separate the ties that bind, and send everyone on their most aligned path. So I always close with a little,
Ritual.
a little ritual to make sure that everyone remains sovereign and within their agency.
Excellent. And I guess as well to make sure no negative energy is anywhere at all.
Yeah. And because readings can get emotional sometimes,
yes,
too, that helps to remove myself from their emotions and themselves from my emotions, so that we're not coloring each other's perception of the event.
Excellent. And that kind of leads a little bit on to my next question, which is tarot often reflects what's going on beneath the surface. How do you help clients move from simply hearing a message to actually integrating with it and making real life changes?
Well, I guess I start by it's all about the right questions. We ask the right questions first, because if you ask obscure questions or questions that don't exactly entail what you want, you won't get the correct information. So I work on that. But then in order to really make it integrated, these questions that you've asked, those are the most important part, because they drive what the card is actually talking about. And the more I know about a situation, the better I can. So some psychics say, oh, I don't want to know very much because I want to put my own impressions in things. But it's not about my impressions. Everything is about your take. If a card comes out and has no meaning for you, it could in the future, or it could in a different context. But at this time, if it doesn't resonate, it has no relevance to you. And you don't have to put pressure on yourself to force me. Only what has meaning for you. And I've found many times that while I'm reading, I get the idea behind everything and the energy behind everything, but I don't know the story, and everything makes more sense once that person's story is told.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, I do a little bit of dream analysis, and it's exactly the same. I can take their dream, and I can do what I feel is my analysis, but then it really needs the client's input or confirmation just to make it really come alive. So I get that. And I guess that's the importance of the questions early on in your meeting, in your session.
Yes, so that we're not wasting breath on the cards, trying to, for example, there's a lot about a situation you may already know. Questions like, oh, what's the driving energy behind this situation? You may already know the answer to that question. And if you can answer it definitively, you don't need the card. If you have an idea, but you're struggling with putting together how to say it, the card could be helpful to give you your brain a jumping off point. but altogether that position is not necessary for the reading because you already have that information. And that kind of card can actually color the rest of the reading. I did a reading for myself just recently that I had to redo because I made a couple of mistakes in the way that I read. I always charge my deck with crystals, aligned crystals, to give it this like ecosystem of energy supporting. And I used the wrong ones. I used things that were very psychological, very good at revealing personal patterns. But I was doing a spread that was more about an opportunity and its viability. So it pointed out the patterns that were underneath everything, but it didn't really tell me about the opportunity. So I did it again with different crystals and a wider lens, and the cards came out much better to where they actually spoke of the opportunity. Both readings were relevant and told me something, but they used a different lens. And the questions you ask adjust that lens for you.
Excellent. Very interesting. Excellent. Okay, so what kind of people or situations are your deeper tarot offerings really designed for? And is there a particular transformation you've seen that captures what your work is all about?
Well, my work tends to resonate with people who are already quite reflective or already interested in self-awareness, people who want clarity, not just answers. A lot of times there's a navigation of things that feel complex, uncertain, life transitions, decisions, something that keeps repeating in your experience. And what I see most often is a shift from confusion into understanding. And that's what I aim for. It's usually not dramatic, but it's like things kind of click into place, you know? And you can see things more clearly. I've actually only ever done one theme. I've done many free readings, but I've only had one paying client. And I love that client was my first paid group because it was a very telling sort of situation. She was going through a massive life change. Her lease was up on her apartment, and she decided, I'm leaving the US. I'm just not going to renew. I'm going somewhere. She didn't even know where she was going, but she knew her life was about to change dramatically, and she was about to change everything about it. So that reading, she told me it brought tears to her eyes, and I've heard that several times, and it's because what the reading accomplished was just giving her a clear vision of what she truly wanted and gave her the patterns behind it. Like there was a sense of adventure and of sovereignty and of how did I put it? Being at home in the whole world, like not having one home, being at home wherever you are. And a lot of what I do just kind of helps you see where you're at, where you could be going, and how to get where you desire.
Okay.
And that can be very comforting.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna.
I think the greatest transformations are usually the quietness.
I agree. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I haven't kind of mentioned this one before, but with that client that you just mentioned, did you actually hear from her after the reading? Did she tell you what happened, what changed for her?
A little bit. She talked about the reading itself and how it helped her, but some life things got in the way for both of us because she was going through her move and I was going through some things. So we both got busy and we didn't follow up. But I have been watching her on Instagram. She moved to a tropical place and looks like a Venusian goddess just sitting
Excellent.
on a beach. So she's doing
Wow.
well. And I recently contacted her and asked for an update, and she said she'd get back to me. So
Wow.
if I have the chance, I love to follow up and hear how things resonated, how things turned out for you.
Excellent. So you would
I think
actually.
even though I cut those energetic chords at the end of a reading, I get very invested in like, oh, I really hope this person gets the job. Oh, I really hope this works out. And so I love to hear that. I love to hear about how it
Yes.
works.
Excellent. Okay, well, I've got to say that's all my questions for today without going, you know, way off the sidelines. I mean, I would really one day love to hear about, how you integrate the crystals in with the tarot and the other things that you bring into it, because I know that I already feel, and through our conversations, I know that you're not just, how do I put this, a one dynamic person. So I find that side of it very, very interesting. And is there anything that you would like to conclude the interview with? Would you like to say anything at all just to close this down?
Um, I recently did write my own sort of philosophy on tarot and posted it as an article in the tarot section.
I
And
saw that.
I I I'm very proud of it. I think it covers a lot of important information about tarot. There's even a section on ethics. But I believe the most important chapter of that is called We Are the Magic. And I think the most important thing to remember is that cards are paper, ink
Yeah.
and paper, until you touch them. You carry the energy, you carry the magic. And as soon as you have intention for something, you open up a timeline where it's possible. And tarot just helps you take a look at those possibilities and how to apply your magic, but the magic is you. So always remember that the cards don't create your destiny, you do. And they're a conversation. Cards are a
Meaghan,
conversation.
thank you. That is just such a wonderful way to conclude this interview. And for all our members, as this interview goes live, one of the things that we'll be doing is there'll be ways of contacting Meaghan and having, one-on-one readings. Meaghan's also going to be doing some comprehensive courses for the deeper members as well. So one of the things that I would ask you guys to do is watch this space. Keep following Meaghan on tarot. I know she's going to be posting some interesting stuff. I've seen her as well on in crafts and hobbies, because I think it's certainly one poem from you, Meaghan, if not more, up there.
Yeah, I think I posted a few, and at one point you asked me for a document that maybe had all of them. I posted that too. But we
Excellent.
haven't decided where to place that. So maybe at some point we'll have a space to just place all the writings and stuff, and all that.
Meaghan, 100%. Bye.